Shout out to Caressing Me Night for sending me this story. Imagine that you spent 12 years of your life in prison for a crime you didn't commit. And as soon as you get out of jail, not long after you're released, you get killed. Like you lost time that you cannot get back. And you get out, and shortly after, and you're on the track of rebuilding your life, you end up losing it. That's what happened with Cedric Willis. Cedric Willis spent nearly 12 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Since his exoneration in 2006, he worked as a motivational speaker, helped register Mississippi residents to vote, and visited schools talking about his experience. He'd been working out, he was feeling good, said Emily Mall, his attorney with the Innocence Project New Orleans. The two had become good friends, and Mall says the last time she saw him was 3 weeks ago. Things seemed to be going so well for him. On June 24th, Willis was shot and killed in his Jackson, Mississippi neighborhood, 2 blocks from his home. The Jackson Police Department has not said if they have a suspect or provided any information on a motive. CNN has attempted to reach the department multiple times but has not received a response. His mother, Elaine Willis, said police visited last week and told her the incident is still under investigation. The only thing I know for certain is my son is dead. He left home and he didn't come back. I don't know why. I don't know anything. Willis was failed by the country yet again, Ma says. America hurts black men in so many ways. 2 of the main ways that is through the criminal justice system and the utter failure to control guns. Cedric has been a victim of both, and that's particularly tragic. In the summer of 1994, Willis was 19 and celebrating the birth of his son CJ, when he was arrested and accused of the rape of a woman in a one-armed robbery and the murder of a man in another in Jackson. Now, look at that right there. They said he was accused of rape of a woman in a one-armed robbery and the murder of another man. That's 3 things right there they love to get black men on: rape, robbery, murder. And they managed to quote unquote convict him on all 3 of those things. 2 robberies and 3 others committed in Jackson at the time had similar patterns, and evidence showed the same gun had been used. Victims gave similar descriptions of the perpetrator. The suspect, victim said, had a gold tooth and no tattoos, but Willis had no gold teeth and his arms were inked. He was also 70 pounds heavier than their descriptions, but victims from both robberies later identified Willis as the perpetrator. Testing determined his DNA did not match the sample found on the rape victim, and prosecutors dropped those charges, but he was tried for the second robbery and murder. At trial, the jury did not hear about the DNA testing that excluded Willis from one robbery and the rape. Eyewitnesses are so often wrong. If you've excluded forensics that point in another direction from eyewitness identification, that's an enormous red flag. Willis was convicted of murder and armed robbery in 1997 and sentenced to life in prison plus 90 years according to the Life After Exoneration program. They knew they had the wrong man and they prosecuted him anyway. This is the very dark side of being a black man in America. How many times have we seen this kind of situation play out? I mean, we've seen it all throughout history. They know that black men are not, depending on the crime or whatever the situation is like his, they know that they are not the perpetrator that they're looking for, but they still decide to put them in jail anyway because they just don't want the idea of being wrong. I mean, we saw what happened with the Central Park 5 in the miniseries of When They See Us. It's the same wash, rinse, and repeat type of deal. His time in prison, Maul says, was especially difficult because he suffered from epilepsy and often had blackouts and seizures. Willis' request for a new trial went ignored for years, the registry reports. IPNO heard about Willis's case in 2004, and in 2005, after the nonprofit law office request, he was granted a new trial. Cedric was very shy and very wary. He'd come to the point where he didn't really trust or believe anyone remembered that he was there except his mom and family. It took a while for him to trust that we were going to stick around and get this done. In 2006, a judge found previous witness testimony inadmissible according to the Northwestern University Pritzker School of Law, and the charges against Willis were dismissed. On March 6, 2006, he became a free man. Willis's mother never believed he committed the crimes and always hoped he'd be free again. He had just become a father. He's not going out to kill anybody. While he was in prison, Habitat for Humanity built Elaine Willis a house, and she insisted they add one more bedroom for her son. I told them my son was coming home and I've got a room for him. That bedroom is where Willis lived after he was freed and until he died. In the years since his exoneration, he built a strong relationship with his son and family, and even though his epilepsy often got in the way of keeping a job, Willis kept busy. He spoke with the NAACP. He worked for the ACLU, registering people to vote, doing what he loved to call election protection. He helped take care of his cousin and sister's kids, took on a few jobs periodically, and more recently was enjoying his new role as a grandfather. He was just a kind-hearted, loving person trying to help people. His mother says his wrongful conviction deeply affected him, but he never ever let it show. He was a very low-key guy dealing with an awful lot. The unimaginable wrong and pain he suffered in the difficulty of being a black man in Jackson, Mississippi. Willis was on his way home when he was killed, his mother said. He gave me so much joy, and I'm going to miss him. That is like I said, this right here is the tragic realities of being a black man in America. He just had a newborn son. He just had a son that he had to go 12 years without being able to raise. But I'm glad that he was able to get out and, get free from, what happened. But, 12 years, that's a long time, when you think about it. That's over a decade when you put everything into perspective. But for him to end up getting killed like this, that's still messed up. And hopefully they find the people or person who was involved for executing this man. But I offer my condolences to his family, his mother, his son, grandchild, and everyone who knew him, associates, and everyone else, because this is just a very tragic situation right here. Especially when you're trying to get your life back on track after losing so many years because of we call it a failed system, but in my honest opinion, it's working in the way that they want it to, which is a extremely messed up system. I guess that's the best way to put it. But y'all let me know what you think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. I will talk to you in the next one.